Hey friend, it is Brandon Gustafson. I am so excited to have you here on the channel today. Our topic for today is how do you get funding to convert a residential assisted living facility? So we're not talking about purchasing, we're going to talk about conversions today and how do you get funding for that. If you're interested, make sure you stick around for today's video. Hey friend, it is Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate 2 assisted living facilities. I created this channel to help people just like you learn the ins and outs of investing in residential assisted living facilities. Excited to have you here on the channel. If you are new and haven't gotten over to the website yet, get over to assistedlivinginvesting.net/calculator. We'll link it down in the description below, and you can get our free underwriting calculator to help you along your investment journey. Now let's get into the topic for today's video. We're going to be talking about how do you get funding to do a conversion for your residential assisted living facility. Now, before we get into the actual funding options, I want to talk to you a little bit about understanding the costs that are associated with updating or doing a conversion on your residential assisted living facility. I think it's really important for you to understand what those costs are so you have a better idea of how much money you're going to need through that process. So we're going to go through several of these costs and kind of walk you through the process here. So the expenses that you could expect to see as you are doing that conversion on your assisted living facility, number one, big one, is going to be renovations on the house. You're going to have to probably do some renovations to get hallways or doorways at a certain width, or doing some ADA compliance things, which is actually the second one. You're going to need to understand what that's going to look like. You may need to put in a sprinkler system as well, which can be extremely costly. Depends on the spot in the nation where you're doing this. On the Facebook group recently, there was a conversation around this, and I was seeing people quote anywhere from like $40,000 to $80,000-$90,000. So that's probably going to be the range that you're looking at, and it's going to depend a lot on the square footage of the home and then the state where you're working and doing your conversion at. So that's something you want to be aware of, but it's going to be a huge expense for you as you go through the process there of doing the conversion on your facility. There's going to be licensing fees and licensing requirements that you go through. Those are generally, they're not too expensive. I don't think you need to get extra funding for those, but it could be thousands of dollars, lower thousands, like I would say between $1,500 and $5,000 is probably where you're going to be looking at there from that standpoint for how much the licensing process is going to cost you. Again, going to depend on your state, how many beds you're trying to do. It's going to depend on that. A lot of that licensing is here's a base fee, and then you do an additional fee for however many beds you have in the facility. So that's kind of how that fee structure is going to work as you're trying to identify how much that's going to cost you. Next is going to be staffing. So as you are getting your facility up and running, you're going to have to hire some staff. And in the beginning, you're not going to have the income coming into your facility before you have to pay your staff. So you're going to need to have some kind of a buffer there that allows you to make payroll while you're waiting for that income to come in for your residents. This is especially true if you're doing Medicaid, and I'll link a video up above that talks about the Medicaid process so you can kind of understand how that works. It's something I'm super familiar with, and you can be very successful running a facility with Medicaid, but just want to make sure you're aware when you do Medicaid, you're getting money that's coming in a little bit later. So something you want to be aware of with that. And then there's just going to be the initial operation costs of running the facility. And this could be getting beds. It could be getting furniture throughout the house, or just making other kind of tiny updates. Getting a med cart, getting the food that you need to give to your residents, all of those things. These are all expenses that you're going to have as you get started running your facility. I don't know exactly how much it's going to cost you to do that. That's something you're going to need to probably figure out yourself. Get over to the website, assistedlivinginvesting.net/calculator. Again, linked below in the description. And I've got a list. On the calculator is actually a tab that kind of goes through the process of what I've seen with some facilities. So you can get a decent idea of what that's going to look like. It's going to help you through the process. And if you get over as well to purchase a business planning guide, you can actually get access to my historical financials. And that one we'll link below as well, assistedlivinginvesting.net/BPG, and that's a capital B, capital P, capital G, and it will get you there, and you can get access to that course, which is going to help you out through the underwriting process. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's start talking about some of the funding options that you might consider as you're looking to get started with your assisted living facility. I've got a handful of them here that are going to help you understand where you might be able to get some of this funding. So try to follow me and think to yourself, which of these is going to be the most applicable to me in getting things ready and getting things started for my own assisted living facility? I challenge you to do that, okay? So let's talk about the first one, personal savings and investments. So if you have a chunk of change in your personal savings, then that is probably one of the best and easiest ways for you to get access to the capital to get started. Or investments, there are ways that you might be able to look at doing this. I would talk with a CPA to see how you could do this, but you might be able to do your investments with a self-directed IRA or something along those lines, or tap into this is not professional advice at all. Talk to a professional, but tapping into your retirement in some form or fashion to help you get access to those funds and then paying it back over time. So that is one way that you could get some funding there. Next is through traditional business loans, and this is happening. So I talk a lot about SBA. And kind of walking through that process. SBA is what I would call a traditional business loan. It's going to help you get access to those funds that you need to operate the facility. The cool thing with the SBA is there are a few different options. The 7A is probably one of the best ones for you to be looking at, though. And with an SBA 7A loan, you can do this with two ways. You can do it, one, to help you get operating capital, and two, to purchase the facility, or you could just do it one way where you're getting the operating capital. It's kind of flexible that way. And so going with that traditional business financing is a really good route for you. And again, I talk about that in the business planning guide. So if you're interested, get over and take a look at that tool there. It's going to help you out through the process. The next one is going to be a home equity line of credit, or a HELOC. You may have heard it called that. And that is actually how we purchased our facilities with the down payment. We kind of combined the HELOC with the SBA funding, and we were able to purchase our two assisted living facilities. So if you have home equity through your personal residence or through an investment property, and you can tap into that equity, that could be the down payment, or it could be enough to fund you if you're doing a conversion on the house, and get you the money that you need to kind of start going through that process. Next is government grants and programs. So we've talked about this, and I'll link this up above about grants. And grants they're kind of a little fuzzy, I would say. Everybody wants to get a grant, but they're really hard to get. And I have some experience doing grant writing. I've received over $1 million in grants for our Colorado facility through some grants that were made available to us through the ARPA program in the state of Colorado. So I'm very familiar with that grant process and how it works. And you might be able to find some on there. If you go to grants.gov or grantgopher.com, those are some great resources. And I'll link up above a live video that I did a few weeks ago that was talking about this process and how you can go and find grants and find ones that are applicable to you. And if you go to assistedlivinginvesting.com/grant, you can get, and we'll link this down below, you can get access to my free grant writing template. It's going to help you out through that process as well, and kind of get you down that path to potentially receiving a grant that's going to help you do the conversion on the house and help out a population. The thing you want to know about grants, though, is you need to have it for a specific thing in mind. And so it needs to be for a specific population. It could be the elderly, it could be an underserved population, it could be anything, but the more specific you are with what you're trying to obtain that grant funding for, the more successful you're going to be in obtaining those grants, those grant funds for you in your assisted living investment journey and doing the conversion on the house so you can start serving that population is how that would work. The next one is going to be private partners that have money. So this could be going and finding somebody that has, a rich uncle, a rich cousin, could be any of those, any rich friend, whatever it is. Go and talk to that person and build out your business plan and your financial modeling and say, I want to do this assisted living facility. This is how much it's going to cost me. These are what the returns are. based off of what I'm seeing in my underwriting, and I need X amount of money. Are you interested in working with me, or do you know anybody that's interested in working with me to successfully do the conversion here on this facility? And I'll give you ownership. We'll work on this for 3 years, and then I'll convert it into an SBA loan, and then I'll pay you back all the money plus interest, or whatever it is, whatever structure you want to work with. Getting in front of people and finding partners, whether they're passive or active, is something that's going to be key. This is why I had to work with my parents on purchasing my facilities. I didn't have that capital that was available to me, so I needed to work with somebody that had access to the capital so that I could reach my dreams. And so you can do this. You just need to kind of build a business case. You need it to be a successful venture, but you can make it look that way and kind of articulate that through using the tools that I have available for you on the website. So go make sure you get over to assistedlivinginvesting.net to get access to some of those tools. Next would be crowdfunding and community support. So this would be, if you have access to a bunch of people or the community wants to do this. I'm not familiar with this process, but you might be able to find a group of people that are really interested in doing this. If you're a part of a real estate investment group or something like that, you might be able to find a bunch of people that are willing to go this route and help you out through the process. If you're doing a smaller conversion like this, chances are you're going to need just 1 or 2 investors that have the amount of money that you need. You're probably not going to be able to do something like a syndication deal on it. The returns just aren't going to be there in this type of a small house. But it's a route that you could look at going if you really wanted to, and finding multiple people to kind of help you get the funding. The more I talk about assisted living to my friends and my family, the more people are like, hey, I want to know when is the next one that you're going to do, because I might want to invest with you. And I talk to some of these people. Some of them don't have a lot of money, but some of them do. And some of them are willing to do that and work with me so that we can create a successful venture together. And the last one is going to be looking at specialized assisted living loans. I've not actually come across many of these, but I know that they're out there. And if you do some research on the internet and look for and regularly look for these, it's kind of similar to grants, but you might be able to find some specific programs that are doing loans that are for assisted living, especially as this population is aging. You might be able to find certain things that are kind of like government loans that would allow you to do it, that are not SBA and they're not grants, but they are loans that are specific to serving a specific population. We're actually seeing a little bit of this in Colorado now that is more for kind of the sober living transitional housing space, where they would be loans rather than grants or things like that. But there's just kind of this in between that we might be able to find some of those opportunities and expand our portfolio through that process. So that's something else that you want to keep in mind as you're going through it. I would say your top choices here for getting the funding are going to be your personal funds and savings, finding a partner, tapping into your home equity, maybe on a conversion, maybe doing an SBA loan. It depends on the amount and what you can work through with a bank. Those would be my top 4 suggestions, but there's a handful of others there. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of what those are and what they look like and how you might be able to access the funding through that process. Now, I want to give you some tips for successful investments with other people as you're going through this process. If you're looking to partner with somebody or looking to do the investment yourself, I want to give you some tips that are going to help you be successful so you can feel confident in your decision to move forward with your investment and move things along. Number 1 is going to be creating a business plan. You want to make sure you're getting that information out there, you're being specific and articulate with it. I help you out through that process using the business planning guide, which again we'll link down below so you can go through that process and kind of get a feel for how to create a good business plan, a solid business plan with a solid financial model that's going to help you out through the process. The second one is going to be finding some professional help. And I'm excited to kind of share with you that I am going to be rolling out a course here, the Assisted Living Accelerator Program. If you are interested in it, it's going to be a 12-week course. It is your path to ownership. It's going to help you get to that process and own your own assisted living facility. I'm super excited to share it with you. Something I've been working on for a long time. I've put a lot of time into this and kind of walk you through the process of how I've purchased my own assisted living facilities. We'll have a link down below where you can either purchase that or register for it and pre-register if it hasn't been released yet, because just the timing of when this video is going to come out, I don't know if it'll be ready yet. But make sure you get down there, click on the link to either register or purchase that. It's going to help you out immensely through the process there. and I'm so excited to share it with you. But if you don't work with me, that's fine. Go find somebody else that you can work with. Finding somebody that has done this before is going to help you out so much as you go through the process and help you understand what you need to do to reach your investment goals. And the third one is just going to be compliance and licensing. You have to make sure if you're doing this, you need to be talking to the municipality. You got to be talking to the health department before you get really deep into this. I was on a coaching call with somebody recently, and they purchased the home, and they even started doing some of the renovations on the home, but they hadn't started the process of getting the license and talking to the municipality. And they found that some of the renovations they did weren't going to be compliant, or they needed to have a certain type of permit or permission before they started the process. So you got to make sure you do these things in order so that you can successfully do this and not waste your time or your money as you're going through the process. So make sure you're talking to the right people, going through that process, and just kind of doing what you need to do to make sure you can be successful in starting your own, doing a conversion on your own assisted living facility. So we've got a lot that we've talked about today. Number one, we talked about all the things that you might need funding for as you're doing the conversion. Then we talked about some of the funding sources. And then I told you about the things that you can do to be successful as you're trying to do this type of a conversion and get started on your investment journey. If you found this helpful, make sure you comment down below, like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell so you get notified. We're doing live videos once a week. We're dropping other videos once a week. Get over and follow us on the Facebook group. It is exploding right now. We have some incredible people in there that are all on their investment journey. And get over to the website as well, assistedlivinginvesting.net/calculator, where you can download your calculator. We'll link that down below so you can be made aware of all the incredible resources we are putting out there to help you along your investment journey. I want to thank you again for watching, for being here with me on our journey here to investing. And does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you just don't know where to get started? At assistedlivinginvesting.net, we are here to help you through the process, start to finish. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.